Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about porcelain, and we are going to talk about antique porcelain as opposed to contemporary or vintage porcelain. We've gone through these definitions before. Vintage is usually considered something that is at least 50 years old, although some people have much more flexible definitions. But antique is generally understood to be pieces that are more than 100 years old. So if you have a piece of porcelain that is more than 100 years old, how do you know? And once you do know, how do you clean it safely? Because obviously a piece of 100-year-old porcelain needs to be cleaned with a little more care than the I Love Lucy coffee mug. So we will get to it when we come back. Okay, before we get started, how about a little bit of English as she is spoke by way of our Portuguese friends, Senor de Fonseca and Senor Carolino, a couple of gentlemen from Portugal, spoke no English, but it didn't stop them from writing their own English phrase book and getting most of it wrong. Okay, this section is with a gardener. What you make hither, Francis? I assume Francis is the gardener. I water this flowers partier. Shall I eat some plums soon? It is not the season yet, but here is some peaches, what does ripen at the eyesight. It delay me to eat some walnuts kernel. Take care not to pass the season. Be tranquil, I shall throw you any nuts during the shell is green yet. The artichokes grow its. I have a particular care of its, because I know you like the bottoms. Yes, I talk to my gardener that way all the time. And here's the bookseller with a bookseller. What is there in news literature? Little or almost nothing. It not appears anything of note. And yet one in print many deal. That is true, but what is imprinted? Some news, papers, pamphlets, and others ephemeral pieces here is. But why you and another bookseller, you does not to imprint some good works? There is a reason for that. It is that you cannot sell it. The actual liking of the public is depraved. They does not read for to amuse oneself, and but to instruct ones. As I have said many times, the Portuguese people who brought this book to America with them would surely fit right in. Okay, today we are going to discuss antique porcelain, and there's a reason for it. Well, there's a reason we're going to do it today, and there's a reason it came up, because take a look at this. This is a Chinese vase, and it's about 14 inches tall, weighs about 9 pounds. So when I can get away with using another piece for demonstration purposes, I will, because this is heavy. Now, if you take a look at this piece, by the way, this piece was my Christmas present from my bestie. So you got to know what's going to become of this. If you take a look at this, if I were to take a look at it in a vacuum, my first thought would be 1980s. I mean, really, look at these colors, black and tan, and then we've got the pink and green in the flowers. Perfect 1980s colors. Oh, well, that would be a long way off from the truth. This piece is from the Daoguang period, 1821 to 1850. So it could be very close to 200 years old. Um, 1821, and that's the earliest date for this piece based on the mark, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams were still alive, just to give you some historical perspective. And to give you a little bit of trivia, because I always love this little nugget, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, who were the original American frenemies, died on the same day. Amazingly enough, that day was July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the ratification of the Declaration of Independence. And of course, they were both signers. They were both our early founding fathers. Uh, just, wow, it's like you really see the hand of Providence in there somewhere. And John Adams' last words were, "Jefferson survives," which I expect he said with a bit of distaste. He was, in fact, wrong. Jefferson died at about 10 minutes to 1 in the afternoon, and Adams died at about 20 minutes past 6 in the evening. But since Jefferson was in Virginia and Adams was in Massachusetts, it was going to take at least a couple of days for news to reach him. So sadly, John Adams died believing that Thomas Jefferson still lived, which probably really rankled. So, just a little bit of American history trivia. This vase actually could have been made in the lifetime of those two former presidents. That's how old it is. So we're going to start with how I know how old this piece is. Let me make sure it's, there we go, right side up. I'm quite certain you are not going to be able to make it out, but the mark is right here in the center, and it is, in fact, a reasonably clear and clean Daoguang mark. So I know how old it is. What if I didn't? What if the mark wasn't clear? And we've talked about this with regard to Asian porcelain. It's very, very hard to date it according to the marks if you do not read and write Chinese. Because whereas we have 26 letters in the alphabet, and if you multiply that by 2 to cover upper and lowercase letters, you're dealing with 52 letters. If you know what they are, you can at least trace out the word, throw it into a translation program, and get it to come back. The Chinese don't use an alphabet. They use characters. The characters equal one syllable in a word. Sometimes that syllable is a whole word. They combine them together, and there are many thousand of them. They just, I have no idea how many thousand. Just, it's almost limitless because of the fact that they can combine them. And if you have at your disposal thousands of independent discrete characters, and you can create new characters by putting them together, well, for heaven's sake, do the math. You know you are talking about more than any one person can actually know. But if you read and write Chinese, if you understand the eras that the marks date from, sure, that means an expert can look at a mark and tell you when the piece was made. A non-expert, no. Can I look at Chinese marks and tell you when the piece was made? Only if the mark is clear and clean, and I can match it up to lists of character marks. But I'm doing that simply by matching pictures. I have no idea what the characters mean. I have no idea what the words are. I'm just one picture matching it up against another. That's all I'm doing. And that's the way it is for most of us. However, if you have a clean mark, go online. There are sites that list the marks. And if you've got a good eye and you can match them up, you can probably date your piece yourself. So, having said that, how do we know how old this is? Well, we've got a number of tells. And let's start at the bottom. Because you've seen me do this, you've seen Jocelyn do this. We pick something up, we look at this lower rim. the rim on the bottom. And what we are looking for is what you see here, a ton of dirt. This has been around for a long time. When this piece first came out of the kiln, it was not dingy gray like this. This has happened over time. Now, somebody stuck little pads on it. I will be removing those, and I will be cleaning this up. Now, let me just show you on a smaller, lighter, easier to handle piece. Here. Same thing. Here's that rim. And as you can see, it too is dirty because this piece has not been cleaned yet. This is where you're going to see the age of the piece along this rim. That's when it's put down. You slide it around on the table. That's where the wear is going to show up. Now, when this piece went into the kiln, it rested on a pallet just like this. So this is not glazed. This is just the raw, naked porcelain. Now, let me show you a little trick with raw porcelain. I'm not going to do it with that. That's a nice piece. This is a coffee cup. Here's the same porcelain. Sharp knife. And no, I'm not killing the cat. Maybe. You can sharpen your knives on the bottom of your coffee cups. And I've done it before. This edge acts just like a sharpening stone. So there you have it. All it is a nice stoneware edge. Now in this case, much dirt, because we're talking about a piece that's close to 200 years old. There are other places you're going to look for dirt too. Now, this piece, because this is a nice piece, has designs on the inside here. And this is often the case with these older, large, better vases. They have this little, just a little bit of prettiness on the inside of the rim. Dirt here. I don't know if you can see it, but there is dirt on the rim. It comes from handling. The inside, which I'm sure you can see, and if you can't, I'll tilt it so that you can see. The inside is just really grubby. This is going to have to be cleaned. And when we're through discussing how to tell if it's old, we're going to talk about cleaning it. Now, I want to show you some other indicators. We have gilding right along the edge here. And we are going to, let me see if I can, there's my finger. Yep, I caught it right there. There is rubbing in the gilding in certain parts. When you take a piece like this, or a piece like this, pick it up, however you choose. Invariably, people are going to reach for the handles on a piece like this. That's where you're going to see the wear marks. That's where you're going to see the gilding rubbed and lighter than in other places. Sometimes you'll see it here. Where you're not likely to see it is right in here. Let me turn that so you can see. Right in here in the curve, because you're very unlikely to grab it by the curve. You're going to grab it by the pieces that stand proud of the rest. So pick it up by the handles. You're going to see rubbing. You're going to see wear. Here, and keep in mind that this is a large, heavy vase. When you put your hand in to pick it up, because that's how most people are going to pick it up, you think it's going to be right here in the middle of your hand. In other words, right on the front. No. The wear is going to be in here because the pressure is going to be between your thumb and forefinger. So when you pick up a vase like this, you're not looking for wear marks here, 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 or here. You're looking for them close to the corner. The reason for that is that's how you pick it up. This is where, see where my thumb is? It lines up with the corner. That's where you're going to see the wear, closer to the corners. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I know this is completely round and you're probably thinking, well, what difference does it make? But when you approach the vase to pick it up, you're approaching from a flat side, because when people put a vase on the table, it's flat side toward you. That's how you're going to do it. The reason this is important is if a piece has been antiqued, they are probably not going to do it correctly. They will wear the gilding evenly, or they'll wear it in the wrong parts. So when you see something like this, put your hand on it. Where your hand lands, that's where you're going to want to see the wear. It's like a very, very easy technique. You do this with anything. You pick up a creamer, you're going to want to see wear on the handle, not on the pouring spout. That tells you the piece is genuinely old and hasn't been antiqued and made to look old. So, dirt, wear, make sure the wear is in the proper places, And like I said, you do that just by grabbing it. Just put your hand on it, pick it up, see where you would leave a wear mark. That's where generations of other people are going to leave the wear mark too. And then right here on the bottom, where it's been on tables, maybe even on floors, where it's gotten moved, shoved, where somebody's been sliding it around a little, that's also where you are going to see your wear marks. I think I told you that Sue the seller scrubs the daylights out of everything. Sue the buyer looks for the unscrubbed stuff. So Sue the buyer hates Sue the seller. I make myself crazy. I do this because I don't want to sell dirty things. This piece, all this nice wear, that's going to go away, because I am not going to sell this to somebody and let them put this on their nice mahogany dining table with all that filth on it. I'm just not going to do it. I wouldn't want to do that myself. I'm not going to make anyone else do it. Now, this piece needs to be cleaned. Now, remember, I showed you the inside. Look at all that crap. That is 200 years worth of crap. Now, if this were a museum piece, and it's not, at this age, it's not. It's a beautiful piece. It's very old. I love it to death because it was a gift from Jocelyn, so I'm going to just cherish this. If it were a museum piece, this would go into a tub of soapy water and soak. And it might just soak there for 3 or 4 weeks until the mild soap loosened all the dirt. That is how you clean pieces of any significant age. Soap and water. I use Dawn. Most people do, by the way. It's not just me. Dawn seems to be the favorite, even among people who do a serious restoration on serious antiques. I find Dawn works well. It gets rid of grease and oils, and we're going to have a lot of that because, remember, hands were touching this. And it will get rid of dirt. I'm not going to do that. Oh, I mean, I am. Obviously, I am going to wash it down with soap and water first. But what I'm going to do on the inside is this. This is toilet bowl cleaner. I know, you're cringing. Why would I use toilet bowl cleaner on this? Well, there's bleach in this. Now, ordinarily, I'm going to tell you, do not bleach your old porcelain. If you soaked this overnight in bleach, there's a very good chance you would dull the colors, you would dull the finish, and this white section in the middle could very well turn yellow. Bleach is not a friendly chemical for porcelain. Your best bet in that sense would be ammonia. So why am I using bleach? Because I have dirt in here of 200 years worth of Lord only knows what. And I'm going to wash it out with toilet bowl cleaner. The way I'm going to do it is I am going to just smear toilet bowl cleaner all over the inside of it. And the reason it's toilet bowl cleaner and not a bottle of bleach is this is gel. And it will cling to the sides. The bleach will stay there. I'm going to leave it for an hour, then I'm going to wash it out. The reason I'm going to do this is because this was a vase. Organic material went in there. In other words, flour and water is going to make pasta. No, this is like flowers and water were in there. And Lord only knows what else. I want to make sure there is no mold, there is no mildew, there is nothing in there that is ever going to make anybody sick. I am sterilizing it, basically. I want to make sure that if there's any organic material left over at all, that it is quite dead. I might not be overwhelmingly concerned about that if I intended to use it for putting flowers and water in there, because it would be washed out over time, repeatedly as the flowers were changed. But you all know that's not what I'm going to do with this. So I'm going to sterilize it. Between the soap and water, cleaning out the dirt, and the bleach, killing off whatever organic material might be left in there, I believe the inside of this vase is going to be safe to stay in my home, not make anybody sick with mold or mildew or heaven only knows what. Little Ebola germs. I do not know what is in it. 200 years is a long time, and you can acquire a lot of schmutz in a vase over 200 years. And the reason for that, of course, is it's going to become a lamp. I'm going to put a cap in here. They call it a vase cap. I recess mine, particularly in vases like this. It's going to go down below this rim level. And it's going to be tricky. I'm going to need to get a size, and it should be about 4¼ inches that will go down far enough to reveal these nice little floral decorations, but not slide through the narrower neck. So that's going to be a bit of a juggling act, but I'm pretty sure I can pull it off. I've done it before. So it's going to be recessed. Now, very few people are ever going to get close enough to be peering down the lamp, but if they do, I don't want them missing the special little surprise. So that's how we're going to clean this. If I were cleaning this, and let's assume for a moment that it was really grubby, really stained, I would pop this into warm water with Dawn, leave it there for a while, see how it came out, and repeat it over and over again. I wouldn't do it for the weeks and weeks and months people would do this with museum quality pieces, but I would start off with that. If that didn't work, I would probably try ammonia. If the ammonia didn't work, let's say there was a stain here. Another one of my favorites is OxiClean, that little tub of powder that I think people are supposed to use it on laundry. You can use it on anything. You get yourself a little bit of OxiClean, mix it with water, make a little paste, dab it on the stain, walk away for a while. Come back, check on it. The stain should be lighter, and continue that. OxiClean is not going to create damage on your piece. It's very safe. That's one of my favorite cleaning techniques. So this filthy little rim, I can clean that with anything. I can clean that with a scrub brush, with Ajax, with Comet, because it's the raw, unglazed porcelain. It's already rough, so if the cleanser scratches it a little, it's not an issue. It's rough. I would never scrub this with Comet or Ajax. If I did that, I would just be tearing at the glaze. I would leave so many little minute scratches, and I don't want to do that. So start with soap and water. Soap and water isn't working for you, try ammonia. If ammonia doesn't work, try an OxiClean paste. If OxiClean doesn't work, and here's where it gets a little risky. The next thing you would do is you would go to a beauty supply shop and get peroxide, the kind they use to bleach hair. And that's why you get it at a beauty supply shop, not the drugstore. The drugstore is a very low concentration of peroxide. You're going to go into Sally Beauty Supply and you're going to say, I want 40% peroxide. 40% peroxide is probably going to take care of any stain. But this is the really important part. That stuff is extremely dangerous. You want to wear gloves. You want to work in a well-ventilated area. That is not the hydrogen peroxide, that you would put on your hand if you got a cut. Not by a long shot. That stuff it can burn the skin right off you. That's why peroxide is the court of last resort, because it's very dangerous. So if you have to take it that far, do so with the greatest of care. Do not do it alone. Never do this when you're by yourself, because heaven forbid, if you had an accident, if you spilled peroxide all over yourself, you are going to want somebody nearby to give you assistance, because the last thing in the world you want is a nice piece of fine antique porcelain in one hand and a burn on the other. No, you're going to want assistance. So peroxide's your last resort. Soapy water, ammonia, the OxyClean paste, finally peroxide, and from a beauty supply shop. So that should clean up just about anything for you. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up on this. Do you remember this piece? One of our viewers, Colleen Staver, sent this to me after I had a little salt shaker in a similar style that I turned into a lamp finial. Well, she sent this little guy, and he's been turned into a lamp finial too. What do you say? In person, I assure you, the colors are spot on. This is going to be the finial for the lamp. This lamp is 14 inches, and if you remember the How to Choose a Lampshade video, we're looking at least a 10 to 12 inch tall shade. And this is going to be the finial sitting on top. So I think we're going to get a very, very impressive lamp out of this. Obviously, I am going to include you in the process. I'm going to show you how we drill out the bottom, how we fit that cap into the recess in the rim, because we want to show off our little flowers. So that is an upcoming project. And then I'm going to have to find a place to put this. And it's going to have to be a very conspicuous place, because by the time I'm done, this thing, top to bottom, is going to be about 3 feet tall. I think I might need to go out and get a table just for this lamp. Okay, so that is how to tell if your porcelain is old, what to look for, how to clean it, how to sharpen knives, hey, throw that in. But remember, please don't forget what I said about peroxide being dangerous, because I don't want any of you getting hurt. Save that as a last resort. Work with a partner. Just take every possible precaution, because it would be like working with a caustic acid. You don't want to have any accidents. Okay, so that was our sort of semi-project video, our how-to video. We have a winner on our lucite bird pin. I forgot to mention this last time, and I should have. And that was Kim C. And Kim, your name is in the video notes, and you need to get in touch, claim your prize, because there were a lot of people who liked it, and I'm quite certain somebody else will be very happy if their name gets picked if you don't get in touch. So just let's hustle along, get your pin collected. And tomorrow I have something very different for you. We're going to do a totally different video we are going to open a box. And tomorrow I'll tell you who the box came from, and we'll both get to see what's in it. But there is another giveaway, at least one other giveaway in that box. So we're going to see it together. Meantime, have a fantastic day. I'll see y'all tomorrow.